What's up, guys? Today we're checking out Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, this is an interesting game, which we're going to talk about today, and see how it runs and what we think of it so far. So, it's out now. It's $60, as you'd expect, as it launched like that with other platforms, and there are already DLC characters and stuff out there to get as well. And I picked up the physical copy of it, and I was a little disappointed. Obviously, there's no manual. It's a bigger deal now if you get a manual with any game, but they also didn't do any like reverse cover art. It is just a very plain white inside. You figure with Dragon Ball Z, there's so many like cool things they could have done, like pieces of art or something on the inside, reverse cover art. None of that. So if you're buying it physically, it is bare bones. There's not a lot to it. Which maybe you just want it physically just to have it and everything, or you just download it, because it's a very small file size from what I remember. It's not very large, so it's not like it's like a 5 or 6 gigabytes or something like that, so it's not very large. Here is the icon. I know people like to see it. It's pretty basic, you know, there's nothing crazy, it's just the logo and that's about it. So let's jump in, we'll play it some, and we'll kind of talk about it a bit. So when you start it up, there is the option to play online or offline. Of course, if you have the Switch and you're not near any kind of Wi-Fi or internet spot at the time, you can play offline. I'm just going to go ahead and just go online and play like you normally would if you're at home with a Wi-Fi spot, or just, I guess, at a place with a Wi-Fi spot. We'll play with it that way, so it's like the full experience, I guess is what you'd say. Now, I played Dragon Ball FighterZ on the Xbox One. I'm not a big fighting game fan, but I like Dragon Ball Z a lot, or just Dragon Ball in general, so I was very interested in this game just because of that. But fighting games, not really my thing, but it's still pretty cool. And this game is catered a lot to people who maybe aren't into like the very technical side of fighting games, while still having the technical side of fighting games, if that makes any sense. There are a lot of easier combos to do in the game, and then there's some very complex ones you can throw together. But this was a big game at EVO this past year. It had massive viewership and everything, so people really like this game and are very interested in it, which again I think has a lot to do with it being Dragon Ball and it being just a good game overall, and how it's built and how it looks. So when you do start up in the online mode, you see here it has that lobby system where you can kind of walk around with your little character, which as you gain Zenny and money and stuff that you earn, you can change the look of your character, and they have a bunch of different skins and all kinds of stuff. So what I think we're going to do here is we'll actually jump into the story. We'll actually jump into the story mode, because I haven't played super far into it or anything, and that way I won't spoil anything, and you can kind of see how the story mode is, just in case you want to run through it, because it does have a fully original story that has like a new android and everything in it, and the story is interesting. It's not like super creative, I'll say, but like it's not the best story. But if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you deal with plot holes and stuff all the time anyway, so it's not a big deal. But it does kind of pull that map system that we had in like Budokai 2, if you remember that, where you kind of had a character that would like kind of just go around the map and you'd fight people as you ran into them. This has a similar thing. So let me go over here as we move along. Your characters, as you see on the bottom right, do level up as you play. So let me jump here. We'll fight against Yamcha and a Goku. Both are level 3. I have a level 2 and a level 1, so we'll see how that goes. But we're going to jump in here, and one of the biggest things when this was coming out, or really before it even came out, people didn't think it'd be able to run on the Switch, at least run to a satisfactory level, which is 60 frames per second. The cutscenes, I believe, are always like 30, so the cutscenes to me look a little strange anyway. They did on the Xbox as well. It looked odd because that was like 30, and then, or maybe even less than that, but it looked so much less. I guess it just looked more choppy compared to the full game, because the game itself, when you're playing, runs at 60 frames per second, and they actually did a pretty good job on the Switch, because I don't really notice any stuttering or issues or anything, even when like the crazy, you know, dramatic looking set pieces are going on, and it runs fairly well. Now, there is an issue that I'm going to talk about, which does exist in handheld mode, and it actually has nothing really to do with the performance of the game, more so what you're left to deal with in handheld mode when it comes to a D-pad. But I will also give you guys some handheld footage later on in the video, so you can kind of see how it performs there. Very quickly, handheld mode looks clean. I really like the way it looks in handheld mode, and it runs great in handheld mode. So here we go, we're going to jump in. I'm Goku, I'm fighting against a gray-looking Yamcha and Goku as well. So the game itself is kind of like, I mean, it's set up similar to like how you would have with a tag battle game like a Marvel vs. Capcom sort of, right? But of course it's Arc System, so it has kind of that smoothness and feel at times of like Blaze Blue. So you can have an easier combo set, like you can literally hit Light Punch over and over again. You'll kind of do these pieces here where it looks really cool, but it's not super difficult to pull off at all. Right, so we get rid of Yamcha, he's done, and here comes, I believe, Gray Goku. And we're going to do a few other things to him, actually. We're going to go ahead and use some of our special moves that we have here, which we'll actually use his normal one, which is like a Super Kamea Wave, and then we'll actually, you know what? No, let's do Krillin, because Krillin has the Destructo Disc. Yeah. Krillin's Destructo Disc is really cool. That's like one of my favorite moves in Dragon Ball. And then he also has his move that he would do where he would, would shoot the big blast at you, and then he would pull it down from the sky, which was really cool, if you remember that, in Dragon Ball. So we'll actually beat him here, and then we'll move on to the next fight. Basically, you just keep moving on to different fights as you go along, and Yamcha is now playable. I actually acquired him there. And Goku, level 2 still, level 1 with Krillin. Alright, and we'll move on to the next fight. This is basically how the story mode kind of goes. You can go around the map, you can pick up characters if they are available to acquire by winning the match, which you can see through symbols on the characters. And they're trying to tell this weird story where Goku is possessed by, I guess, the player, and a different android kind of appears. One that they did make at least like original character for this story, but the story is still not like the best writing or anything. I know a lot of people get this to play online. They get like the awesome like fight sticks and everything. I'm actually gonna go over to TN over there. See, I know these ones with question marks are like tutorials that they have set up, which I think I could skip them anyway. But let's go fight TN over here to do another battle before we jump over to handheld mode so you can see it there. But performance, it's great. The issue I have with handheld mode is there's no D-pad, and this is a rolling D-pad style game. So I guess you can get an arcade stick that they do exist for the Switch. There are little adapters you can get as well to hook up an arcade stick. But one of the biggest reasons you would buy this game on the Switch is because it's portable, but those C buttons just do not work well. Like rolling past those C buttons, it's not the best. Like those C buttons I think you can get away with something like Mortal Kombat where it's not really rolling, it's presses. Man, this is it's tough here though, and the joystick doesn't work well because to dash forward, you double tap forward, double tap back. Hard to do that with a joystick. It really is, because there's travel distance for that. So that's my one issue. Now there is of course ways to get D-pads by modifying your Joy-Con, or you can get that kind of terrible one that we have from Hori at this point. I really want to see Nintendo just release a first-party Joy-Con as an option that has a D-pad. They're good at making D-pads, at least they have been in the past. So, make a D-pad, make a D-pad Joy-Con. This is a game that would really benefit from that. Of course, any of the Blaze Blue ones would as well, right? But man, this is one that really needs it, I think. So we can power up a bit. I'll hit him actually back there, and we can kind of power up to get a couple key bars there. Just get him out of the way. He's getting towards me, and there we go. Cool, nice. So we got all of our get rid of him again, and we got all of our key bars up and everything. So roll, and then you have to press like R. So I would kind of get him set up over here, and then I can kind of hit him with like a Super Kamea Wave like that. Then they have like one where he can turn into a Super Saiyan 3, which is really cool, like this. And it's fairly easy to pull them off, and they look really cool. So, I mean, that's good, because obviously if you're not really into fighting games, and you don't want to pull off these crazy combos or combinations, it's seriously like a roll back in R or ZR, and then like a roll forward in R. And he has like a Warp Kamea Wave, and they all have special moves, and they're not super hard to pull off. And they also have like a simple mode where it makes it very easy to do everything. And you can turn that on and off, which I don't have it on here. It asked if I want to turn it on, and I didn't want to for this, but you can have a simple mode set up and everything. So they do cater towards both crowds. People maybe who just like Dragon Ball, and people who really like technical fighting games. It's basically there for everyone to kind of play. and you can enjoy it, I think, either way. Like me, I'm not a big fighting game fan, but I still enjoyed the game on the Xbox One. And I picked it up on the Switch to check it out and see how it runs. And yeah, it runs smooth for the in-game parts and everything. And it's pretty neat because, of course, it does say 1 to 6 players locally, so you can sync up a bunch of controllers and have at it. Because it does have kind of that mode where everyone can control a different character. You can have like battles back and forth, which was really neat. So you can have 6-person like fights and everything. So yes, Dragon Ball FighterZ on the Switch, despite people not believing that it could run before it was announced, which, by the way, we knew Dragon Ball FighterZ was coming for a while before it was announced, so it was very funny to see people say it wasn't running when it was out there for a while. But there you go, guys. Runs great. Good version of the game. The drawbacks, I think, to get to 60 frames is that some of the parts, like assets and stuff, are lower resolution, like the characters in handheld mode definitely look lower resolution, but not like crazy, and obviously a smaller screen helps with that. And then of course, on like the like a screen like the monitor I have set up here, you can tell that there's not a lot of aliasing, or anti-aliasing, I'm sorry, around the characters. There's a lot of aliasing, and it is lower resolution for that, but otherwise it's very clean looking on the screen here at 1080p and everything, so I'm pretty happy with it. But that's it for now, guys. I will leave you with that handheld footage. Make sure you guys like the video if you like it, dislike if not. Let me know if you picked up Dragon Ball FighterZ and what you think about the game so far on the Switch, and if you would prefer to have kind of an option for a D-pad on the left Joy-Con in handheld mode. I know I would like to see that, but I'm curious if you've maybe adapted to either the C buttons on the Joy-Con, or even you use the joystick for this anyway, so it's not a big deal. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.